Hey Winos, I think it's safe to say that most people like music, and those who don't are at least familiar with the 3 Ed Sheeran songs that play in every store they walk into. We've been making it and listening to it for millennia, dating as far back as ancient civilizations. Naturally, this means it's one of the biggest, most profitable, and most predatory industries that exists today. This video isn't about that, kinda, but it's more about the medium these companies have been pushing listeners onto: music streaming. There's Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Tidal, Qobuz, all of which work off of a subscription model. You pay X amount of money per month and then you get to listen to the bazillion different songs they're currently licensing out. It sounds like a pretty good deal, and it is, because unlike TV streaming services like Netflix and Hulu, there's very rarely a song that's available on one platform over another. Regarding Spotify and Apple Music, that is, I have genuinely no fucking clue what's going on over on, like, Pandora. Because of this push towards streaming, it now makes up almost 89% of the total revenue made by the industry, which is almost $18 billion. In case you didn't know, that's actually a lot of money. Personally, a couple years ago, I was using Apple Music and I honestly didn't mind it. It is a convenient way to listen to music, but my attitude towards it changed once songs started disappearing from certain albums, or entire soundtracks would be delisted completely. Consequently, I haven't used music streaming in over 2 years now and have completely moved over to a dedicated music player. Admittedly, those are just minor gripes, but the problems go deeper, especially with Spotify, and with Apple Music and all of the other services trying to copy them, the writing was on the wall that I had to get the hell out of there. Long story short, I'm gonna tell you why I think you should do the same. I tricked you. I'm actually in the same place still. People have been asking me about my outro song ever since I started using it, and so now I can use it to illustrate one of my main problems with music streaming. The song is called Border 70, Something Jazzy for Your Mind Mix, and it was made by Hideki Naganuma for a game called Ollie King. Me and my partner had wanted to listen to it a few days ago, and so we looked it up on Spotify, and when we clicked the album, every single song on it was grayed out and unavailable. Honestly, this is extremely hilarious. Stay with me now. You know how Netflix does that annoying thing where you're searching up a certain movie or TV show and it recognizes what you're trying to search? It'll let you complete it, sometimes even auto-complete it itself, and then whenever you do search it, it'll say, "Ooh, sorry, it doesn't look like we actually have that. Here's a bunch of unrelated shows and movies instead." Imagine that in addition to that, they actually did show you the movie, allowed you to click on it, look through all the options, all the information for it, but when you tried to click play, it was just grayed out. Most people hate on Netflix these days, and rightfully so, but at least they have the courtesy to take things not on their platform off of their platform and tell us when they're going to do so. Spotify and Apple Music just randomly decide that some music should disappear intermittently for no goddamn reason. So, for those of you who wanted to listen to my outro music, you can't. It's mine forever. This speaks to a larger problem across the music industry that I hate, and it's the availability of music. Don't get me wrong, I think it's fantastic for people to have such a convenient way for them to access and listen to music, and I'd be lying if I said that it didn't allow me to broaden my horizons to new artists and genres. However, these companies are in it to make money, obviously, and so if they deem certain music as unprofitable, they're going to delist it from their platform. You don't own any of the music that you have downloaded on any of these platforms, so if it disappears, that's it, you just don't listen to it anymore. This is especially bad with compilation albums. Apple sometimes throws together their own compilations like Spotify does, and there was one that I particularly liked that had some acid jazz music in it. Fast forward to today, a few of those songs are now delisted from Apple Music's servers. I'm struggling to find any way to purchase them or listen to them again because they became unprofitable. I hate that. Art shouldn't just disappear at a company's whims, especially if it's something that I like, because I'm the most important. This availability problem stems further than just the observable lack of certain songs on these platforms, but also the absolute pittance that they are giving these artists to make music for their platforms. Currently, Spotify pays about $3 to $4 per 1,000 streams, and it fluctuates based on basically how famous you are, and Amazon pays $4, YouTube pays $7, and Apple Music surprisingly pays 10. I kinda hate to say it, but Apple Music is crushing Spotify in this department, but even then, it's not necessarily a livable wage for anybody other than the biggest artists. Plus, this doesn't even account for the fact that a lot of these artists are gonna be splitting that revenue with a label, taking home only about 13 to 20%, unless you're someone like Taylor Swift. It's interesting to me, because in a lot of ways, streaming has liberated artists, making them able to work without record labels, but now it's made it more difficult for them to be noticed on the never-ending sea of music that's posted on these platforms. It's a blessing and a curse, but in my opinion, it's mostly a curse. The labels still have the majority of the advertising power. They're still getting the most listens. Very rarely will you see a fully indie artist pop up and be one of the biggest. So what's the fix, you must be asking? How, oh smart and handsome Antonio, do I fix this problem that you just told me about? Well, I don't know why the hell you're giving me so much authority on this, but I do actually have a couple of suggestions. Firstly, you can start buying your albums to ensure that you're always able to listen to them, and also so the chimp that they've hired to randomly delist songs on Spotify isn't able to stop you from enjoying your favorites. Plus, it gives artists a more concrete revenue source for their music. This can be from a number of places: Qobuz, iTunes, Bandcamp, all of which allow you to purchase music and keep it DRM free. If you're wondering what that is, it's basically something that companies have to check through the internet that you're allowed to use whatever files on your phone or computer, which is how music streaming downloads work. You're probably thinking that it's not financially smart to do that, but I'll show you that it's not too far off from Spotify's subscription price. Spotify Premium costs a single user $11.99 per month, a duo $16.99, and a family $19.99. Admittedly, a pretty sweet sounding deal for the plethora of music available. While I personally prefer to buy CDs and rip the music from them, I understand that I'm a freak with an unending need for more plastic to clutter my shelves with. So let's take a look at the price of some digital albums, since they're typically lower, more convenient, and allow for most of the same perks of ownership. Sabrina Carpenter's new album, Man's Best Friend, is $9.99, and Turnstile's Never Enough is the same. It's a pretty standard price across the industry. The 2022 Batman movie's soundtrack is $10.99, and there's a lot of songs on that. Granted, it is a movie soundtrack, but still. Persona 5, a video game soundtrack with a whopping a lot of songs, is $23.99. If you want, you can also buy songs individually. Just go onto YouTube and listen to an album, see which ones you like, and get those. On their own, they're usually about $1. Now, think about how many songs you typically add to your Spotify library in a month. You can buy an album and then some every month with how much Spotify Premium costs, and if you want to discover more music, that shit's free. Now you just need to seek it out rather than having a weird generated playlist or an AI DJ pick it out for you. Also, if you want to support the artists you like further, buy their merchandise, go to their shows, which I understand isn't economically viable for everyone, but it allows them to continue making the art that you enjoy. Completely unrelated thought that I had while I was editing, you should buy one of my mugs. Just do what you can to support the artists that you enjoy so they can continue making the art they love to make. And don't feel ashamed if you've got to sail the 7 seas every now and then. I'm sure buying one of their hoodies does a whole lot more for them than streaming their song on Spotify ever would. Speaking of supporting your favorite artists, I've noticed something concerning when it comes to how fan bases interact with their favorite artists in the streaming age. This isn't necessarily only the fault of music streaming services, but it's definitely exacerbated by them and the relationship that they have with online discourse in general. Fans of artists have been arguing about how successful their favorite is compared to others for a long time now, but the metric of success has changed from album and song sales into the amount of streams that they get. On the surface, that honestly doesn't seem like much of a problem, which in a vacuum it isn't, but unfortunately, the accessibility of music in the streaming age has caused these sorts of fans. I feel like I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit, so I'm just gonna find an example to illustrate what I mean. Do you guys remember that Justin Bieber song, Yummy? You may not because it released 5 years ago, Yeah, that's right, 5 years ago. I'm a fucking corpse. His promotional campaign for the song was intensely criticized and everybody poked fun at it. And rightfully so, because the song was ass. But it was also because it was one of the most shameless marketing campaigns of all time. He asked his fans to buy the song multiple times, a bunch of CDs, and most importantly, stream the song as much as possible. He even posted images detailing how to use a VPN in order to circumvent Spotify's IP restrictions and get the song on the Billboard Top 100. At the time, everyone thought this was hilarious, but now every fervent fan base does exactly this. The fans are the ones advocating for people to stream these songs on repeat, and they didn't even have to launch the most embarrassing ad campaign of all time to do it. But this is just a symptom of a larger issue, that it's extremely beneficial in a streaming world, at least business-wise, to cultivate a parasocial relationship with your fans, or at the very least, not address your most ardent supporters. I have no doubts that in the past, superfans were buying out CDs, songs, merchandise of their favorite artists, but now the barrier for entry of being a stan is so low that basically anyone can do it as long as they have a Spotify account. All you have to do to feel like you're a part of something is to use a VPN to stream this song on loop and get Justin Bustin's song onto the Billboard Top 100. It's easier now for people to feel closer to an artist's success, which I feel is a problem. It leads to a sense of entitlement towards the creator. Word of mouth is very important to smaller creators, even bigger ones, but this strange relationship being normalized between artists and their fans is worrying. Speaking of word of mouth, we're seeing some of the effects of this now, with Taylor Swift's engagement sparking controversy online. A lot of her fans seem to feel like they have some sort of claim over her, that they can dictate who she decides to love, and I hate that. Not that I necessarily like the queen of private jets, but she at the very least should be able to be happy about marrying someone she loves. Like, come on guys, what the hell is this? Again, I feel like this is a larger issue that streaming isn't necessarily responsible for, but is definitely elevated by. And I feel like something definitely needs to change. Do I know what? No, I'm not a fucking wizard, not yet anyway, but at the very least I can say that artists should stop ignoring or even encouraging fans to act this way towards music streaming. Of course, like I said earlier, word of mouth is extremely important to artists, big and small, but your fans shouldn't be the ones selling your music for you. That's your job, Justin. Got you again. I'm in the same place. You guys have to stop being so easy to trick. While we're talking about jobs, you probably have one, and if you don't, I am so sorry for saying the J word, and I hope you recover soon. I say this because, if you're allowed to, you probably like listening to music while working. You probably listen to music while folding laundry, doing dishes, studying, really any mundane activity where you'd like to have something entertaining in the background. This is where I feel we get to the exact opposite side of the spectrum from superfans, where streaming has created an attitude in some people that bills listening to music as a secondary activity. Something to be done pretty much only while doing something else. This makes a ton of business sense. Spotify, Apple, all of the others want you listening to their service as much as possible. To them, you're not listening to this particular album or this particular artist. You're listening to Spotify. I feel like they benefit from making you appreciate music less. This leads to people's relationship with music becoming weirdly unhealthy, treated like some sort of dopamine crutch. I would hear kids say constantly while I was in school, I need to listen to music to focus, which in some cases I don't doubt, but it's also because you are in school, it is boring, and you'd rather listen to something entertaining than do trigonometry. This way of listening to music has been pushed by streaming services and is now a lot of people's daily lives. Instead of making their own playlists, people will listen to the Extra Fruity Goblin Time playlist that Spotify randomly generated for them this morning. Instead of finding music on their own, they'll let Spotify's AI DJ pick whatever it thinks they'll like. It's their For You page, how they're gonna keep you listening for as long as possible. This loops back to what I was talking about earlier with certain songs being taken off of streaming services. It got hot, I took off the jacket. If you encourage the user to allow the service to make listening decisions for them, They'll be less inclined to care when one of their thousands of liked songs gets taken off of the platform. And that sort of bloat can also unfortunately lead to a lack of appreciation for the musicians that are in people's libraries. Because you can add and delete songs on a whim, it's a whole lot easier to just add a ton that you don't fully like or care about, skip them all the time, and just have them sitting in your library. I'm not perfect, even though I'm so handsome, so I used to do this all the time. New game that I liked came out? Add the whole damn soundtrack to my library. New album from an artist that I like? Listen to every song for 30 seconds before I decide which songs will be forgotten forever. A couple years ago, I noticed myself doing this and realized something had to change, that this was not a healthy way to enjoy music. For me, it had actually become the short form content that at that point I had been criticizing for years. Basically what I'm saying is Spotify is trying to TikTokify listening to music, and it's working. It's because our little ape brains tend to appreciate things less the more of those things that we have, and it stands to reason that the same thing goes for music. And to top it all off, Spotify is trying to flood their site-made playlists with AI-generated music so they don't have to pay royalties to artists. Which definitely doesn't help anyone appreciate music more than just a distraction from whatever mundane activity you're doing right now. I want to clarify this as well. You're not wrong for listening to music while doing something else. In fact, there are proven benefits to listening to music while studying. It helps with your memory. The problem stems from our fast-paced society and not having time to listen to music by itself. Music streaming services benefit from this, and so they don't fight back against it. It's not your fault that Spotify, Apple, and fucking Pandora or whatever are trying their hardest to make you care about music less. Behind the scenes, they're taking control away little by little. Spotify's free tier won't even let you play an album if you click on it, and it's riddled with ads. They've also implemented a weird algorithm into shuffling playlists where it'll prioritize playing popular songs more often. If you're curious about that, there's a really good video by Gabby Bell about it. I definitely recommend watching it. Also, that AI DJ isn't just there for shits and giggles, although it is shit. They want the music you listen to be replaceable, and they want you to be okay with that. After all, it is a business and you're just a revenue stream to them. If they can find the best way to cut costs but keep you on their service, you bet your ass they are going to try their hardest. So what's the solution to that? Well, hang on, man, I'm getting to it. God, why are you guys so goddamn impatient today? An immediate solution, if you do want to enjoy music, is to just listen to it. Let me rephrase that. Listen to just it. Close your eyes, put on some headphones or some earbuds in, or don't, I'm not your mom, and just listen to a song. Just find a song you really like, or an album you've been meaning to listen to, and focus on it. When you really hone in on music, it becomes such a magical experience. Also, ownership of your songs does help. Because you bought it, you're more inclined to use it and get value out of it. Although I guess that's not always the case, considering there's a gazillion unplayed Steam games sitting in libraries right now. Like I said, our world is so fast-paced now that it can be easy to view music as something you can't make individual time for. So many people are working all the time to make ends meet, always studying for an exam or a test, where they have to use that free time to do chores around the house. Music streaming is the epitome of that society without free time. They want you to feel that way, so it's easy to fill all of these mundane days with music, but not in the fun, whimsical way, more in like an evil corporate way. I've been planning on making this video for a while, almost 2 years now, which is when my partner bought me this iPod. I ripped all my CDs, started collecting music and actually buying it on digital storefronts, and now I feel like my relationship with music is a lot better than how it used to be. Now, of course, you guys don't need to buy an iPod in order to ditch music streaming, or an MP3 player at all. Your phone has all of those capabilities. I just did it because I like old technology and I'm an insane person. All you have to do is start enjoying music more, and to be honest, you don't have to entirely leave music streaming to do that. Most of the time, if there's a new song I want to hear, I'll look it up on YouTube, listen to it, and if I like it, then is when I'll go buy the song or the album. I can listen to that song forever, and in my experience, I feel like I enjoy it more because I bought it. I also feel like I'm supporting an artist better because they're getting paid more than a fraction of a penny. These days, when I'm listening to music while doing something else, if it's a more taxing task, I'll find myself getting sucked into one over another. For example, these videos take forever to make because if I turn on any music while doing them, I'll have to stop and look at iTunes for 45 minutes while I'm like, ooh, I want to listen to this song now. On the flip side, if I get into a good workflow, I'll suddenly think, who the hell turned this on? I'm trying to focus. Overall, while I think that music streaming has been extremely great for the accessibility and convenience of music, it's also made it into something of a secondary activity, which I don't think is good at all. You don't have to ditch music streaming, just recognize the ways that you may be taking music for granted, treating it like it's just a thing you do while you do something else. Also, Spotify is a shitty company, so you should just leave them anyways. All I really want from this video is for more people to really enjoy and appreciate how beautiful music can be, because it is. It's awesome. People take things that are easily available to them for granted, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Music is so much more fun when you stop shuffling a playlist with a billion liked songs in it. Anyways, Guinos, I'm probably playing Silk Song by the time you're watching this, so expect a new video in about 3 or 4 months. Bye!
Keep stepping at your, keep stepping at your own pace, keep stepping at your